All right. All right. Well, welcome. Good morning. Good morning. I want everyone to do something with me. Just hold up one finger real quick. That's how many degrees it is outside. I thought we'd do that way we were really thankful for what we get to do inside today. There it is. You're already going, yeah, and we can stay here for a long time. Preach on, preach on. It's going to be a good day, and I'm excited because of this one finger that goes up in the air, right? It's 1 degree out, and there you go. Hey, just want to welcome you to what we're doing today. We're hitting week 3 of our series, White Elephant Christmas. And what we're doing with this series is we're lifting concepts out of that whole white elephant gift-giving tradition and helping them inform, helping them connect us, move us through the holiday season the way we need to move through it. So there it is. They're helping us find the manger and all the vegetables and the messes that go this time of year. There it goes. Now, when I say white elephant party, how many of you know what I'm talking about? We've done this before. Got to do it again. All right, there we go. If you didn't raise your hand really quick, goes like this. White elephant party. For it, everyone brings a gift. Then you unwrap gifts in order. On your turn, you have a choice, though. Unwrap a gift in the middle of the table or in the middle of whatever. Unwrap a gift or steal a gift that you see. If your gift gets stolen, then you have a choice. Steal or unwrap. You get the picture, right? And with that whole idea, right, with that party, you get these concepts that have been helping us this time of year. So like week 1, we just took the word elephant out of it. We said, hey, let's talk about the elephant in the room. And then we linked it to it, right? So we mixed our metaphors. Hey, we can do that. We were at Woodland. It was crazy, right? Woodland High School, we were there because Bethlehem Walk was in effect, right? And we lifted out the elephant in the room, the fact that God's gift, Jesus, life through Jesus, can start to look like a white elephant gift, something that we just really didn't want. You know, you got a white elephant party, inevitably. You want the Starbucks gift card, you end up with a foo-foo candle. You know, that's just the way it works. And you're like, right? And we said this, right, that elephant gets kicked out of the room when appreciation comes into it. And we just moved in the direction of understanding the incredible worth of the gift we've been given in Jesus. There it was last week. We just looked in the party and noticed, you know what? Everybody's stealing stuff from everybody else. That's just how it goes, right? And we said, hey, you know what? Thief happens. And life is like that, right? We all of us in this room are connected by this one fact. There are a few others, but we're connected by this one fact that we've all experienced loss. In some way, shape, or form. Thief has happened in our life. We said, well, what do you do with that? Well, what we found out was this, that when you get hit by a thief, you got to run toward belief. There it goes. And if you're going, how does that help? Yeah, just get online, listen in. I'd love for you to connect with that one. I think it was pretty helpful. This week, what we do is we look at the white elephant parties, and we notice this, that everybody's bringing a gift to the party. You know, if you want to be prepared for it, you got to bring a gift to it, and that's kind of the trick, right? I realized that at least 3 weeks ago, maybe before that, but specifically got this. We were at a staff meeting talking about our own white elephant party that was coming up. We're going to do this. Right? We're kind of talking specifics, making sure everyone was on the same page. You know, it's going to follow morning breakfast, the Tuesday morning women's Bible study. Ladies were cooking us breakfast. Yeah, and if you're jealous right now because it just went down and you weren't there, you're right to be jealous. They made it famous, right? So we knew we were going to go up there, eat breakfast, and then come down and let the craziness go, right? It's going to be nuts, right? And so we're talking about all that. And then at the end of it, one of our staff members, who will remain anonymous, even though her name rhymes with Jessica Pastrick, she said this. Some of you are like, oh, Jessica Pat. Yeah, she said this. She said, all right, guys, let's make sure this is the one year. Let's make sure this is the year. There you go. Let's make sure this is the year where no one has to run home real quick and get a gift. Let's remember to bring a gift, right? And you hear that phrase and you understand why she said it. There it is. Because white elephant gift parties aren't like a lot of the other parties you're going to go to during the year. Birthday parties, everyone's bringing a gift for a specific person. You get invited to someone's house. You might not bring anything, but you'll leave with something, a party favor. There you go. Or, it might be the case where if you're a plus one or a friend that just comes with, you don't have to bring a gift, but the family does. You get that. White elephant parties, total different thing. Right? White elephant party, everybody brings a gift because everybody's involved in this gift exchange. And so if you don't bring a gift, you get to sit there and feel silly and on the outside. At a white elephant gift exchange, you got to come prepared, right? Because there's this paradox that comes standard with a white elephant gift party, right? This is where you feel it. You can show up at this party and hit this paradox. I just call it this way, right? It's party paradox today, and we'll play it. I'll just tell you about it, right? Anytime they come, there's this danger. I'm going out of order. It's not his fault, right? Here we go, right? Anytime you hit them, there's this paradox that we can hit. And you see this, and you're going to understand how this connects to your life right off the bat. No kidding, right? The paradox goes like this, right? In life, it's possible, right? Especially a white elephant party, to make the party but still miss the party because you weren't prepared for it. Can I play that for a second? Right? White elephant gift party, it is possible to make the party but miss it, to sit there feeling like a dork because you weren't prepared for it. And that's a problem, right? It's a problem. But the second you read this, what you understand is this, that white elephant gift parties aren't that different from our life, and maybe they're more connected than we give them credit for. Because we live our lives surrounded by parties. And you can take this in a literal and a figurative sense, right? Literal parties. You know how it works, especially this time of year. Family get-togethers, gift exchanges. Maybe there's a concert or a ball game you're going to hit. Call that a party. There we go. Christmas Day, we're going to unwrap gifts. Then we're going to go ring in the new year. We're surrounded by literal parties. You pull back away from that and you realize, you know what, that word party stretches over a whole lot of things. You know what? I was invited to a party the day my daughters were born, and you were invited the day your kids were born. You were invited to a party the day you said, I do, or the day you developed a friendship, or the day a new sibling was born in your life, or the day you started work. Every relationship or obligation has this party idea associated with it because there's something that is required of you in all of those areas. And like a white elephant gift party, you can make that party, but still miss it because you're not prepared for it. And so what does it look like for us to prepare for the parties that we're interacting with this time of year and on through the year? What does it look like to be prepared for that sort of party? What does it look like? If you go to Matthew chapter 2, you find these guys who get us kind of geared up for it. I call them the wise guys, and you'll know why here in a second. They're going to be called the Magi. Some translations of the Bible will say wise men, these wise guys. And what you're going to find is this, that they've got a party they're headed to too. They get this invitation, and they set out in the direction of the party, but then it happens. They run into a whole group of other guys who've evidently made the party, but they're missing it. It's like right there in front of them, and they're sitting there going, party people, let's make some noise. All the girls and all the boys, and it isn't happening. They're going, wow, we gotta kick this, you know? We gotta kick this. I say it like this. It's like they show up at the house where it's going down, check it, yep, right address. They go inside, the house is filled with people, but the people are missing it. They're missing it, right? And they're missing it because of this word preparation. We've already talked about it, right? And so already as you read this story, what they're going to tell us is this, that if you want to make the parties of your life and not miss the parties, you got to walk through that word preparation. Preparation matters. It's going to be our bottom line today, and we'll kind of cook through it. Some of you are going, well, how do you prepare? Now we're getting into it, right? Because you start digging, and what you notice is this. Second, the wise guys walk into the room, right? Second, the wise guys walk into the room and start rubbing shoulders with the other guys. You start to notice this contrast. with their lives. And somewhere in the midst of that, you see these strategies the wise guys had going on that led them and left them in a position where they not only made the parties, but they missed them. And I think this can be helpful for us. Not just the literal parties. Some of you are making a list, checking it twice. You started, collecting gifts a long time ago, or you've been hammering Walmart. Like, you know the greeter on a first-name basis by now. You've hit it enough times, Not just the literal ones. I'm talking, this can help those figurative parties. And some of you know this because you came in here today and things haven't been that great lately. You and your spouse haven't been quite seeing eye to eye. There doesn't seem like there's as much change in that bank as there was. Your kids, what's going on? Some of you are going, hey, my dad was invited to a party the day I was born. He hadn't been showing up to that, or, my spouse hadn't, or I haven't, and I know it. So what do we do? How do we make sure that we move around the party paradox this year? How do we make parties, not miss them? How do we prepare for them? How do we do that? You go to Matthew 2, and in the first 6 verses, you find the first contrast that helps us with this. And this one's kind of fun, right? These guys roll up in town, and it says this: after Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, he's one of the other guys at the party. We'll talk about him in a second, right? King Herod, during the time of King Herod, right? He's on the throne. Magi, they're the wise guys, right? Called the wise men. They're scholar, astronomer, astrologer dudes from over Persia, Babylon, off in the east, right? They come from the east to Jerusalem, about 600 miles, which was a trek back in the day. And they show up, right? And they ask, where's the one who's been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose. We've come to worship him. Right? It's a party, right? We got the right invitation. We're noticing the pin. It's over the right sort of area, we think. The map's kind of big, but it looks like we're here. You're the guys, the party people who should be making some noise. What's going on? What's going on? Then King Herod heard this. He was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. We'll get to that one here in just a second. When he called together all the people's chief priests and teachers of the law, other guys at the party, track with them. All right, he calls them together and he asks them where the Messiah was to be born. Guys, there's a party. Where's the party supposed to be? I'm not seeing it. I'm looking out and not seeing it. Now, the interesting thing to me is about to be this, right? That these guys can pinpoint book, chapter, and verse. They got more to go on whenever it comes to the party right in front of them than anyone else in the story. But for some reason, they're not showing up to it, right? And if you start wrestling with that, you're going to get where we head. And this is going to be incredibly helpful stuff, even though it's going to seem obvious. But here we go, right? In Bethlehem and Judea, they replied, they know this. For this is what the prophets written, but you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel. Right? You back away from this and you got so many questions. If it's true that these guys can pinpoint book, chapter, and verse, what's going on? I just put it this way. I think all of our questions that come from this passage start and end with the word why. Right? You've got this crazy rundown. Right? The wise guys, they show up on location. Party should be hopping. It's not hopping. Why? Why? Well, the other guys, religious leaders who should be seeing it happen, should be preparing for it, they don't see it. They're not preparing for it. Why? Well, because even though they have all this information at their fingertips, they can pinpoint book, chapter, verse. You get that. They know where the Messiah is supposed to hit the manger. They don't see this as that time. They don't interpret it right. Why? Well, maybe this. They got distracted by all the details. Man, they can quote details for days. And they got so focused on them that they missed what was right in front of them. And that's a problem. That's a problem, and some of us know this, right? Because the second I say that, I put my finger on why it is you may be missing some of the parties that you're making this time of year. Right? Isn't it true in life that you can miss the main thing because you get focused on other things? Isn't that true? Yeah, you can miss the main thing because you get so focused on other things. A few years ago, Bruce Larson let me in on this. He's a Christian author, lives in California. He decided to take a bike ride with his family. Got some young kids. Hey, let's go for a bike ride, kids. So they're headed down this trail they've never been down. And he sees this sign on the side of the trail that says, Naturalist Camp Ahead. And he's going, oh, this is going to be awesome. Nature right there for my kids to see. This is going to be great. He quickly found out what the words naturalist camp meant, as they're riding and 6 completely naked bikers ride right by them. All right, that happens, and he's freaking out, going, oh my goodness, like my kids, what did I just expose them to? Like what are they thinking? He's freaking out, and all of a sudden his 5-year-old son says, oh, Dad, they weren't wearing their helmets. All right? You hear that. And you realize this, right? We can go through our daily lives and be like the 5-year-old kid. We get so focused on other things, we miss the thing that actually mattered. Yeah, and here's the thing. If that's the case, here's the truth, right? You want to send the Party Paradox pack in this time of year, then you've got to include this strategy in your life. And it seems fairly simple, but we'll broaden it and then move to the next one that adds to it, right? Just be aware. Be aware. Open your eyes to the parties you need to make. Just get them in mind right now. Why? Well, because you can miss what's right in front of you. You can miss it. And because that's the case, get them in your mind. Greg Ogden, a few years back, he gave me a way of kind of thinking about the different parties, the different interactions I have. He called them the 5 spheres of human interaction, and you can add or subtract from them however you want. But this might be helpful to you today to go, okay, if I'm going to be aware of parties I'm going to make so I don't, show up but not show up, right? Make it, not miss it, hit the paradox. Family, all right, what are the parties in that sphere? Okay, family, got my kids, my sibs, my spouse, my, adopted family, my friends that are, tighter than some people's spouses. We've got that family. You've got church, commitments, obligation, interaction, small group party, all that stuff. Work, where am I at there? How am I supposed to show up? God want me to show up. The world, there's some sort of way that I should be interacting with people this time of year, and I could be absolutely short-shafting them as I interact with them. What about my devotional life, my interaction with God? You see these and you kind of get a feel of, right, what's right in front of you and what you need to hit the right way. And that's the first step. First strategy, it says be aware. Be aware of all the parties you have to make. Right? And that's where our journey toward, pounding the party paradox starts, not where it ends, right? You go on into verse 3, verse 7, and 8, and you find the second strategy. And this one grows out of the first. If you're not aware, this one isn't going to happen. And if this one doesn't happen, awareness isn't going to really matter. You're seeing it but not doing anything about it. Here we go. Verse 3, 7, and 8. It says, when King Herod heard this, told you we'd come back, he was, help me, disturbed. He was disturbed. Just underline that with your mind. It's pretty significant. All Jerusalem was disturbed with him. Yeah, because of the sort of person he was. Moving on, verse 7 and 8. When Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. All right, he calls them in. He sent them to Bethlehem. All right, that's where it's happening. He sends them there and he says, go and search carefully for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me so that I too may go and worship him. Yeah, right. Now, for some of you, you've read these verses a couple hundred times over the course of your life. I mean, you've pounded Matthew chapter 2. You know all about the wise guys, King Herod, the great, all that good stuff. But for those of you who are just looking in going, oh, this is kind of interesting, let me just clue you in on this so you kind of know how to read this. King Herod is not a nice guy. There you go. King Herod's not a nice guy. He's not an altruistic guy who cares about other people. King Herod is this murderous madman, tyrant. You cross him, you're gone. He only gives whenever he can get something in return. So like whenever he helped rebuild the Jewish temple, yeah, he was looking to secure his own position there. And the guy, he would defend his throne to the nth degree, to the point that he even had 2 of his own children put to death because he thought they were gunning for his throne. And now he's just heard that there's this kid that's gunning for his throne. He's going, oh yeah, thanks. Why don't you go? Come back and get me so I can go worship him to death. It's going to be awesome, right? You feel it, right? Herod's not a nice guy. And he's not a giver unless he can get something. Let me say that again because it's going to be helpful. He's not a giver unless he can get something in return. And so everything he's saying here it's a lie. It's a lie. Right? And if you uncover that, you realize the reason why he's at the party but misses it, and it's a key reason why we do too. Right? The gift he's prepared to bring isn't appropriate to the occasion. Right? You fast forward, and what you see is the wise guys, they bring appropriate gifts. Gold, frankincense, myrrh, that's going to scan. Gold, that is a gift that meets the occasion. Even the symbology behind gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Like gold, it stands for kingship, frankincense, deity, myrrh, sacrifice. And we're looking at it years later going, did they know? Like, that's kind of cool. Those gifts were incredibly appropriate. Herod's, not appropriate to the occasion. What's he looking to bring to the party? Death, dismemberment. Right? Just a few verses, he has every boy under age 2 killed in the vicinity. Right? He isn't bringing the right gift, and because of that, he may be making it because he's close enough, right, on a map, but he's missed this one. And boy, did he miss it. He missed it, right? Because his gift wasn't appropriate for it. And if you back away from there, you notice this second strategy that grows out of the first one. And just get how helpful this can be, right? Strategy number 2, it just says, just bring appropriate gifts. Not only do you need to notice your party, then you need to start figuring out how to bring appropriate gifts to them. And the line under it matters, right? It's money. Match the value of the gift to the worth of the party. That's the trick with your life, to match the value of your gift to the worth of the party that you're going to. A few years back, Fred Craddock helped me kind of understand what this looked like. He's talking about the church and our life in Christ, but he gives a helpful way of breaking this down. I'll read it and you tell me if he doesn't hit it. He says this, that giving our life for Christ appears glorious. It's where he's starting. He says, to pour myself out for others, pay the ultimate price of martyrdom. I'll do it. I'm ready, Lord, to go out in a blaze of glory. Then he says this, right? We think giving our all to the Lord is like taking a $1,000 bill, laying it on the table. Here's my life, Lord. I'm giving it all. But the reality for most of us is this, he says, that God sends us back to the bank and he has us cash in the $1,000 for quarters. He says, and then he has us go through life putting 25 cents here and 50 cents there. Listen to the neighbor kid's troubles without saying, get lost. Go to a committee meeting. Give a cup of water to a shaky old man in a nursing home. For some of you, like, ring bells outside of Walmart. Okay, that's like $5, especially in the weather. And he ends it this way. He says, usually giving our life to Christ isn't glorious. It's done in all those little acts of love, 25 cents at a time. And if you understand that, you don't have to go very far to understand why we can make parties in our lives and miss parties in our lives. We make them and miss them all the time. Why? Because we fail to match the value of what we're giving to the party itself. Now, if you hold on, this is incredibly helpful stuff. Right? Because we're surrounded by parties. You bring the spheres up, you're reminded of this. We're surrounded by parties. You see them. Each of those parties requires something of us, a gift from us, but the value of the gift has to match the worth of the party. An encouraging word, that's like 25 cents. Pat on the back, there's another quarter. Give someone your time, maybe that's 50 cents. Depending on how it plays, do something for them, give something to them. You get the picture, right? We're giving as we hit it. I don't know how many quarters all of it is. guys, you get the point? The problem comes whenever we fail to match the value of our gift, the accumulated value of our gift, with the worth of the party, right? When you give more quarters to your work than you give to your wife, it's going to be a problem. Hey, let's just track there. Some of you are going, oh, that's why. That's why I keep coming home late, leaving way early, overtime. Right? She looks and she says, okay, so based on your payout, here's the value. We start doing that. Don't think we don't. Whether we know it or we don't, right? Start giving more quarters to your work than to your wife. Start giving more quarters to this than to your spouse. You get the point on this. Don't give any quarters to your kids for a while. No hugs, no touches, no time. You start taking quarters from your friends. Don't give any in return. You don't make an investment toward God with your life. You get the point, right? If you want to avoid the party paradox, make sure that you're making parties and not missing them at the same time. We have to begin and remember to bring an appropriate gift, right? Match the value of our gift to the worth of the party. Right, that one's going to move you closer. But it's this last strategy that gives us the sort of capacity to make sure this gets done. Right? You go on in the story, verse 9 to verse 12, and you see the wise guys just kind of act this one out for us. And as we do this, I want you to notice the verbs in it. Notice the verbs. I got them italicized, bolded, underlined, and say these verbs with me. Right? We're going to cruise through this. Here it goes. After they'd heard the king, they went on their way. And the star they'd seen when it rose ahead of them, the rose went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. Here we go. Verse 10. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. Verse 11. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and they opened. There we go. Then they opened their treasures and him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they to their country by another route, right? Love that. Missed a couple of them. That's not the point. Just notice them, right? Because you hit those verbs and what you see is this group of guys who make the party and they don't miss the party because they ended up making room for this story that was larger than their own story. Because they made room for that story, all of a sudden they are moving in an incredibly functional way. They are matching and meeting exactly the way they need to. They are living. They made room for this story that's larger than theirs, right? You look at this and you get it. They see a star, and even though they can't pinpoint book, chapter, and verse like the religious leaders, they don't have that much to go on, it still doesn't keep them from showing up. It doesn't. No, I mean, they're aware. They read the signs and they say, hey man, party coming, should be a pretty special party. And so they dig deep and they find the right gifts. And then you look at these verses and you find out why they did it. It's in those verbs. Somewhere in the midst of the seeing and the being overjoyed and the worshiping and the opening and the presenting, you get this feeling that they were making they were making room for a story that was larger than theirs. They were able to do that because they had made room for a story that was larger than theirs. And because they made room for that, they had the capacity to make this party and not miss it. They had the energy. They had what they needed to make sure they didn't miss it. See, and if you drill down there, you find our last strategy. And I would say this one determines the worth of the former two. Just make room for the manger. I just put it in Christmas terms. You know what I'm talking about. Because here's the truth. What you make room for, you fill your life with. What you make room for, you fill your life with. What are you making room for? They would ask, are you making room for a story that's larger than yours? Because if you are, this story can change everything. In his last book, in Chronicles of Narnia, C.S. Lewis kind of helps us with this. And it's a little bit tricky because you're coming in on just a piece of dialogue between three people. Right? They're talking about this stable. And two of them, Tyrion and Lord Diggory, they're from Narnia, and one of them, Queen Lucy, she's from our world, right? It's kind of how it goes, fantasy stuff. But notice this, they're talking about a stable, and she turns it in a really cool way. Right? Tyrion starts it, he says, well, it seems then that the stable, when seen from within, is completely different. It's completely different. No. It seems then that the stable when seen from within and the stable when seen from without are two different places. There we go. Yes, Lord Diggory says, its inside is bigger than its outside. And then it comes, Lucy connects it. She says this, yes, in our world too. She said, a stable once had something inside it that was bigger than our whole world. Could it be that the story we're living today is too small? We haven't made room for this story, and because of that, right, our awareness isn't as sharp as it needs to be. Our eyes aren't open. Because of that, our hands aren't where they need to be. We're not giving the right gifts. Could it be that this story can change it all? You know, friends, I don't know how you came in the room today. I don't know how you came in the room today, but my prayer is this, that if the party paradox is living in your life, that might be the way you came in, but it's not the way you end, and it's not the way you end because you begin making room. You begin making space in this place so that the Messiah of the manger can motivate what you do during this time of year. Let's put it this way, that I pray that, no matter how you came into the room, you'd walk out humming that cheesy, played out Christmas tune. You know how it goes. What can I bring in, poor as I am? If I were a shepherd, I would bring a lamb. If I were a wise man, I would do my part. What can I bring him? What can I give him? I'll give him my heart. There's my prayer. And I pray that as you make room for the manger, that He would open your eyes, that He would make you aware in this moment of the parties that you're missing. You're making, but you're missing. Right? He'd open your eyes and make you aware. And I pray that He would open your hands and help you find the appropriate gift, the appropriate amount. There ain't been enough quarters over there, and I get it. I give you the grace. Just start paying it out one at a time, until the amount fits the occasion. Pray that today might be the day that you lay the party paradox to rest. Right? You know the bottom line today. Preparation matters. Preparation matters. And because of that, we're just going to take a moment to prepare. And we're going to start with this last bit right here. We're just going to make room for the manger today. For some of you, this may look like, I've never said yes to Jesus, and I'm going to follow Him, get baptized. Right? I haven't even started making room. Today's the day I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. Those of us in the room, this Christmas season squashed us. We're all over the place. We're all over the place, and we're not just scattered, but we're not showing up. We're not showing up. And so in this place, we're saying, you know what, God, could you help clear some stuff out? Could you help me? Right? Make room for Him in your story. Make room for Him, where you're at, so that He can help you with this. For some of us, as He does that, He's going to say, you know what, there's this party that's fallen off your map. Time to show up. Time to show up. Now, for some of you, He's going to say, you've been showing up. The gift didn't matching it. Gift didn't matching it. Right? However this plays, this is true, right? Preparation matters. So let's prepare the right way. Why don't you stand and we'll just create time for it. The group is going to play a couple of songs, and while they do, we can move in this direction. If you want to receive Christ, you can meet me up here by the steps. We can do that. If you need prayer, we can do it too. How'd you come? How are you leaving? Preparation matters.